In the absence of a political agreement towards a ceasefire between the parties, he appealed for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire that could open the space for further engagement and consensus.
The solution to this humanitarian tragedy is not humanitarian, it is political. I'm therefore appealing for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire to allow for progress in serious political negotiations aiming at reaching a peace agreement based on the principles of the United Nations Charter. A cessation of hostilities will allow essential humanitarian aid to be delivered and enable civilians to move around safely. It will save lives, prevent suffering, and protect civilians.
The UN continues to point out that the conflict has left millions of people in constant fear of indiscriminate shelling, with more than 10 million people now estimated to be stranded in affected areas or unable to leave due to heightened security risks.
Today, I'm announcing that in the exercise of my good offices, I've asked Martin Griffiths, the coordinator of our humanitarian work worldwide, immediately to explore with the parties involved the possible agreements and arrangements for a humanitarian ceasefire in Ukraine. Since the beginning of the Russian invasion 1 month ago, the war has led to the senseless loss of thousands of lives, the displacement of 10 million people, mainly women and children, the systematic destruction of essential infrastructure, and skyrocketing food and energy prices worldwide. This must stop.
Ukrainian officials accuse Russia of targeting a nuclear research facility in the city of Kyiv amid assertions from Russian officials of their right to use nuclear weapons if they faced an existential threat, a concern put to the UN chief.
I was this morning in contact with the Director General of International Atomic Energy Agency. And there will be a number of very important initiatives by IAEA in the next few days in order to guarantee the security of the nuclear facilities inside Ukraine. And I know that there is a very close contact of Rafael Grossi to both the Russian and the Ukrainian authorities on this, and he has my full support in the initiatives that we'll take in the next few days. On the other hand, I can't imagine the possibility of having a nuclear, a biological, or a chemical war in this scenario. That would be
conflict in the first place.
Would be something that I believe will be avoided. It must be avoided.
Guterres also said in early February that he didn't think military conflict would break out between Russia and Ukraine. Point being, it's difficult to determine amid this fog of war what might or might not happen, given that decisions about this conflict are happening in major capitals around the world and not necessarily here at the United Nations. So the focus from the UN chief is on creating conditions for a humanitarian pause, one that he believes could help address the global consequences of this war, which risk compounding the already deep hunger crisis in many developing countries that already lack the fiscal space to invest in their recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, let alone the implications of a drawn-out war in Europe and the additional pressures that would place on soaring food and energy costs. Sherman Bryceby's SABC News, New York.